Okay, so ready to dive into something new.
Absolutely. Always up for a good deep dive. What are we exploring today?
Well, this time we're taking a look at this piece, A Lotus That Opens. It's an excerpt, actually, from Spiritual Reflections for a New World by Pedro Elias.
Interesting. I'm not super familiar with Elias's work, but I do love the imagery of a lotus.
Right. Just the title alone, A Lotus That Opens, it just sparks curiosity, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, the lotus itself holds so much symbolism, right? Purity, enlightenment, rising above challenges. So I'm curious to see where Elias takes it.
Me too.
Hmm.
And he doesn't waste any time getting to the heart of it. He compares our current civilization, like right now, to a stagnant swamp.
Ooh, okay. Not the most uplifting image.
Definitely not subtle. Makes you wonder, does that resonate with you at all, this idea of being stuck in a swamp?
Well, the imagery is definitely evocative.
Yeah.
It evokes a certain feeling. And honestly, yeah, that feeling of stagnation, being stuck, I think a lot of people can relate to that these days.
Right. Regardless of your beliefs, it's kind of hard to ignore that feeling sometimes. And Elias digs even deeper into this, talking about how so many are still asleep, like seeds, totally unaware of their potential. But, and this is where it gets interesting, he also suggests that people are waking up, becoming those lotuses, opening to what he calls a, quote, greater light.
Okay, so we've got swamp, seeds, now lotuses and light. I'm intrigued, but what does that even mean in this context? To awaken.
Right. It's not exactly a concrete term. What do you think he's getting at there?
That's a great question. I don't think there's one right answer, but if I had to take a stab at it, maybe it's that process of self-discovery.
Okay, I like that. Self-discovery. Keep going.
hmm Like maybe it's about connecting to something bigger than ourselves, whether that's a sense of purpose, a connection to nature, even a spiritual belief system. Whatever resonates. It's about questioning things, looking for deeper meaning.
And you know what I find interesting? He's not saying go out and convert everyone to your way of thinking. It's not about that at all.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't have that preachy vibe. So what's he advocating for?
He keeps emphasizing embodying the change you want to see. So it's less about preaching, more about being.
Show, don't tell. I
Yeah,
like that. Actions speak louder than words and all that.
exactly. Aligning your actions with your values. Living in a way that reflects the world you want to create. Pretty powerful stuff. And it's not just about, talking the talk. Elias is all about walking the walk, putting those good vibes out into the world.
Yeah, he really seems to emphasize the importance of action, right?
Totally. But here's where it gets even more interesting. He says that the planet already understands, already accepts these changes. It's like he's saying nature's got it all figured out, even if we humans are still trying to catch up.
It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? Like this underlying wisdom, this natural order,
hmm
even amidst all the chaos.
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, if we tap into that wisdom, we can find our own sense of peace.
I love that.
Right.
Finding peace amidst the chaos, that's a concept I can get behind.
Right. So it's not just about accepting change on a surface level, but really understanding it, embracing it as part of something bigger. Which brings me to, I think, one of the big questions here. How do we navigate these big changes without getting totally swept up in fear?
It's easy to get caught up in the fear, for sure, especially these days.
Totally. But Elias, he offers some guidance here. He talks about cultivating inner peace. And not just like bubble bath, face mask, inner peace, but a real deep sense of peace.
Right. I mean, inner peace as in like a state of being.
Exactly. He's talking about avoiding those extreme viewpoints, those ideologies that just divide us. He says, seek the stillness within, for that is where you'll find the strength and clarity to navigate these turbulent waters. Powerful stuff.
Seek the stillness within. Man, that's easier said than done, though, right?
Seriously, especially in our world. Constant information, opinions, anxieties, it's a lot. So how do we even begin to find that stillness, that inner peace, when it feels like everything's pulling us in a million different directions?
I don't know if there's one right answer, but I do think it's a practice. It's different for everyone. Meditation, nature, journaling, whatever works to quiet the noise and connect with that inner space.
So less about silencing the world around us, more about finding that inner compass, that grounding force that keeps us centered even when everything feels chaotic.
I love that analogy,
Yeah.
an inner compass, because let's be real, things are chaotic right now,
Yeah,
and it's easy to feel lost.
absolutely. And that's why I think this message from Elias is so relevant, so important right now. He's reminding us that real change, lasting change, it doesn't come from a place of fear or urgency.
Right. It's not about forcing things or rushing the process.
It comes from that place of inner peace, clarity, understanding. And that starts with each of us. That inner work, it matters.
Yeah. So it's not about ignoring the problems of the world. It's about approaching them from a different place, from a place of groundedness, of compassion.
Yes. And I think that takes a lot of courage, honestly, to face the world's problems, not from a place of fear, but from a place of, like you said, compassion, love. It's challenging, but it's possible.
It is possible. And, even though Elias is talking about societal transformation, these big global shifts, he always brings it back to the individual.
Right. He talks directly to the you who's reading, listening, reflecting.
Yeah. It's like he's reminding us that our inner work, our choices, our actions, they ripple outward. They have an impact.
Our own little corner of the swamp, right?
Right.
We can make a difference there.
Exactly. And speaking of impact, there's this part where Elias compares this time of change to a tree shedding its leaves in autumn, making way for new growth in the spring. What do you think about that analogy?
Ooh, that's such a powerful image, isn't it? Because it speaks to the natural cycles of life, death, rebirth.
Right. And the inevitability of change.
We can't hold on to those old leaves forever.
No, we can't. And sometimes letting go is necessary for new growth, even if it's a little scary.
It's like that feeling of clearing out a closet, getting rid of clothes you haven't worn in years. It can be daunting at first, but ultimately it's so freeing.
Totally. Creating space for something new.
So we're not just talking about individual growth here, right? We're talking about a collective letting go, a making way for something new to emerge on a societal level. Big picture stuff.
Exactly. A collective shedding. And that can feel unsettling because we don't always know what that new growth will look like. The future is uncertain.
It's like standing at the edge of a forest. The leaves are changing color, and it's beautiful, but you don't know what it's going to look like when those leaves have fallen and new ones have sprouted.
Right. There's a sense of mystery, of the unknown.
But there's beauty in that mystery too, right? The unknown, the potential for something new to emerge.
Absolutely. And I think that's where that feeling of excitement comes in, right? Like, yeah, things are changing, but that change brings possibility.
Possibility. I like that. But it's still a process, right? Moving from the old to the new. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes letting go feels less like a gentle release and more like, clinging to the branches for dear life.
I think that's relatable for a lot of us. Change can be challenging, even when we know it's for the best.
It's that whole leap and the net will appear thing, right? But sometimes you don't even want to leap, even when you know deep down something's got to change.
It takes trust, doesn't it? Trusting
Yeah.
ourselves, trusting the process, trusting that maybe, just maybe, there's something bigger supporting us, even when we can't see it.
Okay, trust. I can get behind that. But practically speaking, how do we even know what to let go of? What if we're so used to those old leaves, those old ways of being, that we don't even realize they're not serving us anymore?
That's a good question. And I think Elias offers a clue when he talks about the importance of inner peace. Not just relaxation, but a deep sense of alignment. Knowing what feels true and authentic for us. So maybe it starts with paying attention to what drains our energy, what creates resistance or inner conflict.
Okay, so like doing an inventory of our inner landscape.
Exactly. What brings you joy? What feels expansive and life-giving? And on the flip side, what feels heavy, constricting, maybe even a little swamp-like?
Swamp-like, I love it. It's so visual.
It's all about being honest with ourselves, right? And it's not about judgment. We all have those swampy parts. It's more about approaching ourselves with curiosity and compassion, asking what needs to be released to create space for something new to blossom.
Which brings us to that final image in the excerpt. The new flower, the lies, appearing alongside the lotus. What do you make of that? What could the lies represent in this whole transformation thing?
I love that Elias leaves that open to interpretation.
Yeah.
It's like he's giving us this gift, this symbol of possibility, and letting us find our own meaning.
I like that. It's interactive.
Right. But if I had to take a stab at it, maybe the lies represents those qualities of innocence, simplicity, that pure potentiality that emerges when we let go of the old and embrace the new.
So it's not just about becoming a lotus, rising above the swamp. It's about making space for something totally new to emerge, something we might not even be able to imagine yet.
Exactly. And isn't that kind of exciting? This unknown future full of potential? It's like Elias is reminding us that even though things feel uncertain, even though we don't have all the answers, there's a deeper intelligence at work, guiding us towards something better, something more harmonious.
That is exciting, and it's a hopeful note to end on, don't you think?
I think so. And for everyone listening, I hope you'll take a moment to really sit with that. What does a more harmonious future look like to you? And what small steps can you take today to embody that change, to become a part of that vision?
Because, as Elias reminds us, even small acts of love, of kindness, of understanding, they ripple outward. creating a wave of change that's bigger than any one of us.
So be those ripples. Be the change.
I love that. On that note, we're wrapping up this deep dive into A Lotus That Opens. Until next time, thanks for joining us.